we're going to turn our attention to other things now, and that's the guidelines on assisted suicide. It's a dilemma that most people hope they will not face, but several high-profile cases have made us all consider what should happen to someone who helps a terminally ill person die.
Well, campaigners have called for clarification, and today updated guidelines on assisted suicide will be published. They'll set out the circumstances in which friends and relatives may be prosecuted if they helped loved ones to die. Leslie Close is a campaigner from Dignity in Dying. Dr. John Wild is from Care Not Killing. Good morning to you both. Dr. Wild, let me start with you, because I think you say that the guidelines encourage people to help people to commit suicide. Do they really?
I think the problem is that it's illegal at the moment, and I hope the new guidelines will leave the law intact and it remains illegal. What the guidelines are proposing to do is indicate the circumstances in which we may choose not to prosecute somebody rather than when we will. I think we should look seriously at end-of-life issues for people, and I think it's a very serious step to solve.
So you think there should be an automatic presumption of prosecution
first?
I
do, yes, because I think at the end of the day we're choosing to kill people, and there are lots of vulnerable people in society and lots of people very frightened about the prospects of what's going to happen at the end of life. And what we're being presented with is a concept that the only way you can die comfortably and peacefully is to have assisted suicide, and I think that is completely wrong.
Leslie, I can see you're shaking your head. You've had experience, I know, quite a traumatic experience with your brother John,
yes,
who had motor neurone disease.
Yes, I went with him to Dignitas in 2003.
And that's in Switzerland?
Yes, that's right.
The clinic in Switzerland. What had he said to you about his wishes? Had he told you quite explicitly?
Absolutely. He saw a story from the BBC News email that described how Reg Crew had been to Dignitas a few days before. And he wrote, because he'd lost the power of speech by now, that's how I'd like to go when my time comes. And that's what we did. I helped him to get to Dignitas.
And when you went with him,
yes,
what were your thoughts about a prosecution, a possible prosecution when you came back?
I didn't allow myself to think about that before we went, because John had found this way out and I didn't want anything to stop him. But when I got back, I did wonder whether I might have broken some law or another that I wasn't aware of. So I asked my local police force, and they said it wouldn't be in the public interest to prosecute. And that's exactly the same decision that they seem to have taken in the other cases of people who've been to Dignitas.
So, John, in Leslie's case, why should there be an automatic presumption of prosecution?
Because I think we should make people realise how serious it is to kill another person.
Do you not think she understands it already?
Yes, we do, but I still think that we do need a very high threshold when we're contemplating killing another person. And people at the end of life get very distressed, and people are afraid of what it's going to be like to die. And I'm not diminishing how difficult it is for the patients and the relatives, but I do feel that the law at the moment, if it stays in place, which I'm sure it will when we get to the situation later today, it does protect people.
The law isn't going to change today, that's quite clear. All we're going to have is clarity about what the current law says. But what current law is doing is it's looking at events that have happened and looking back on them. What I would like to see is a situation where we can look at things in advance. We can change the law so that people can talk about this beforehand. They can ask for medical help to die.
I don't think we should change the law. And I think, you know, if other criminal offences exist in society, we don't have guidelines telling people how they can steal and let them know how to steal and take things in a way that means they won't be prosecuted.
But this is a unique case where it's a
I
crime to help somebody to do something that is legal.
No, it is illegal to assist somebody in their suicide.
It is not illegal to commit suicide, but it is illegal to help someone
Absolutely.
to die.
We're talking about assisted suicide, which is illegal, and I'm sure later today it will still remain illegal.
It will,
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
But as you say, these will be guidelines,
yes,
and nothing that happens today will change the law, and it will still be viewed on a case-by-case basis. So
absolutely,
would you not both agree that that is the best thing, for things still to be viewed on a case-by-case basis? Because every case, when it comes to end of life, is so different.
People will still be criminalised for acting compassionately and helping their loved ones to die. It will still be an offence, but we will know what you can do, what you should not do, in order to stay clear of the law.
John, if I may, the Assisted Suicide Act was passed, in the early 60s?
Yes.
We're nearly 40 years on in terms of medicine, life extension sort of conditions that people have to live in. Is it not time to have another look at that?
I think we've looked at it repeatedly. We've looked at end-of-life issues in the House of Lords repeatedly, and people have decided not to change the law. I think the present law protects people, and that protection is very important to vulnerable people.
But it's also out of step with current opinion. 80% of the public support a change in the law.
I wonder whether we can just leave on an agreement. You've worked in palliative care for more than 30
yes.
years. If there were... If palliative care were very, very good in terms of, I don't know, supplying more hospices and more end-of-life care, would that not be a way of resolving it?
It would be wonderful, but there are still people for whom that end-of-life, the suffering, the loss of dignity that my brother experienced,
No, I
it's
think
not
we should
enough.
keep the law where it is,
All right.
and you're absolutely right, improving the care and delivering better palliative care is the way forward before we have the simple solution of killing the patient.
Thank you both very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Vexed
Leslie,
understand.
thank you very much,
Thank you.
John.
16 minutes past 8, still to come on the programme today.